The night sea swallowed every trace of light. Cold water pierced through the protective layers, drawing warmth from flesh degree by degree, while fog pressed against the wave tops like an unbreakable curtain. On the intercepted frequency, an enemy voice trembled with panic. "Who's shooting us? Where?" No muzzle flash, no clear report. Only people who had been standing there then weren't. From the darkness behind the salt-laden fog, a SEAL sniper raised her rifle. No order waited, no confirmation needed. 90 brothers had not returned from these waters. Tonight, the Black Sea would take no one else. The water temperature measured 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Technical specifications called it survivable for 3 hours maximum with proper gear. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Blackwell knew better. The spec sheets never accounted for wind chill against wet neoprene, or how salt spray froze in the pre-dawn darkness, or how hypothermia didn't arrive as a single enemy, but as 1,000 small betrayals, fingers going numb, thoughts slowing, the body consuming itself for heat. She'd been in the water for 90 minutes. The SEAL team operated 600 yards offshore, invisible against the rocky coastline. No running lights, no chemical illumination. The insert had been textbook Zodiac boats, cutting engines 2 miles out, paddling the rest, sliding into the black water without a splash. 12 operators moving through the surf zone where waves broke white even in darkness. Sarah held position on the northern flank, 100 yards separated from the main element. Overwatch, her designated role. The M110 semi-automatic sniper system lay across a rocky outcropping barely above the waterline, wrapped in a ghillie net that mimicked kelp and stone. The rifle's suppressor added 14 inches to the barrel length, worth every ounce of weight. The sea didn't roar here, it whispered. Long, slow swells that lifted and dropped without breaking, the kind that made even experienced swimmers misjudge distance and depth. The fog sat low, maybe 8 feet of visibility on a good moment, less when the wind shifted and pushed moisture inland. Every thermal signature bled away into the water, every sound dampened by the endless white noise of surf. This was the kind of environment that killed through attrition, not drama. Bodies found days later, miles from last known positions, if they were found at all. Sarah's team leader, Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, moved through the shallows 40 yards to her left. She couldn't see him, wouldn't unless he wanted to be seen, but she knew his pattern. 15 years in the teams created a language beyond radio calls. The slight change in wave rhythm when someone displaced water. The shadow that moved against the current instead of with it. Her breathing measured 6 counts in, 7 counts out. Slow enough to keep her heart rate controlled. Fast enough to maintain alertness. The sweet spot between operational readiness and hypothermic shutdown. The tactical channel remained silent in her earpiece. Good. Silence meant the mission proceeded as planned. Infiltration of a coastal facility used for weapons smuggling. Intelligence indicated light security, minimal training, the kind of target that required precision, not firepower. But intelligence also indicated clear weather. The fog changed everything. Sarah adjusted her position incrementally, redistributing weight across the rocks. Movement attracted attention. Any competent sentry learned that in week 1. But absolute stillness attracted attention too, once someone's eye caught the outline. The trick was moving like the environment moved. When wind pushed fog, you adjusted. When waves surged, you shifted, become part of the rhythm. Her gloved fingers rested against the rifle's trigger guard. Not on the trigger, never until the shot presented itself, but close enough. The M110 held a 20-round magazine. She'd chambered the first round before entering the water, ejection port sealed. 775 meters maximum effective range in daylight with good visibility. Tonight she'd be lucky to see 100, but 100 was enough. Sarah's watch read 0342 hours. The team would reach the facility's seawall in 12 minutes. Phase 1 complete, Phase 2 beginning. Then the radio crackled. not her team's frequency. The intercepted enemy channel, a voice speaking in clipped phrases. Patrol 2, status? Pause, static. Patrol 2, acknowledge. Another pause, longer. Then a different voice, younger, uncertain. Patrol 2 is, we don't have visual on Patrol 2. Sarah's grip tightened fractionally on the rifle. Something had already gone wrong. The enemy communications officer repeated the call 3 times before the panic bled through his training. All units, Patrol 2 is non-responsive. Last known position, north perimeter. Security to condition 2. Sarah's intercepted radio hissed with crosstalk as multiple positions reported in. The facility's guard force numbered approximately 25 personnel according to pre-mission intelligence. Now she could track them clustering, condensing from dispersed patrol patterns into reactive positions. Amateur hour. They were bunching up, making themselves easier targets rather than harder. Fear overriding doctrine. North perimeter, this is command. Report what you see. Command, north perimeter. Nothing, fog's too thick. We heard something maybe 5 minutes ago. Thought it was rocks shifting. You thought, Dufine heard something. Like displacement, water moving, but we checked and nothing was there. Sarah knew what they'd heard. Patrol 2 sliding into the water, no longer capable of reporting. Her team didn't take unnecessary lives, but they didn't leave operational threats behind either. Clean, quiet, permanent solutions to immediate problems. The communications discipline began deteriorating. Did anyone actually see Patrol 2 go down? Negative, just found their position empty. Empty how? Equipment? Gone, all of it, like they walked off post. People don't walk off post into the ocean at 0 dark 30. Then where are they? The question hung in the salt air. Sarah could almost feel the compound's perimeter guards swiveling their heads, trying to penetrate fog that revealed nothing. The human mind craved explanations. Unknown threats triggered primal responses, the fear of predators unseen, attacks from darkness. Modern training tried to override those instincts. Tried. A new voice entered the channel, older, carrying authority. All stations maintain radio discipline. Patrol 2 likely experienced equipment failure and is attempting to return. North perimeter, establish overwatch position at... The voice cut off mid-sentence. 5 seconds of dead air. Then, command, north perimeter. Did you copy our command? Command is off the net. What do you mean, off the net? He was just talking. I mean his signal dropped. He's gone. Sarah tracked the chaos like reading sheet music. Each voice revealed position, experience level, psychological state. The compound had a command structure, but that structure was decapitating itself through predictable responses. Senior personnel exposing themselves to assess threats. Junior personnel freezing or clustering. Classic. Who's in charge now? I don't know. Lieutenant Ramirez, maybe. Ramirez is north perimeter. He's probably with command. So who's running this? No answer. The frequency filled with breathing, radio clicks, half-formed sentences abandoned before completion. Then the question that would define the next hour. Who's shooting us? Nobody's shooting. We haven't heard any fire. Then where are they going? I don't know. Where is the enemy? The voice rose. Control fracturing. Sarah recognized the edge, the moment when trained responses gave way to panic. When the brain stopped processing tactically and started processing through pure survival instinct. Where? The word nearly a shout now. Where are they? Sarah's team remained silent on their own frequency. They'd heard everything she heard. The mission profile had shifted from infiltration to something else entirely. The enemy was unraveling before contact. Chief Webb's voice finally entered her earpiece, calm as deep water. Blackwell, you have the picture? Affirmative. Hold position. We're proceeding to primary objective. You cover the extract route. Copy. And Blackwell? Yes, Chief? Whatever scared them this badly, keep it scared. The channel went silent again. Sarah settled deeper into her position, the M110 stock firm against her shoulder. The enemy was asking the right question. They just wouldn't like the answer. The first confirmed kill happened at 03:51 hours. Sarah didn't take the shot. She witnessed it. Through her scope, barely visible through shifting fog banks, a figure appeared on the compound's north wall. The thermal signature bloomed faint green in her night vision. Body heat against cold stone. The figure moved with purpose, not panic, likely a squad leader or senior enlisted, trying to establish visual control of the perimeter. Smart, also fatal. The figure raised binoculars, scanning the waterline. Sarah watched him sweep right to left, searching for threats in the surf zone where her team had inserted. His posture suggested confidence, experience. This one had done this before. He never completed the sweep. The man simply dropped. No shot preceded it. No sound carried over the water. One moment he stood atop the wall, the next he was gone, fallen backward into the compound's interior. Clean, professional. Sarah identified the origin point, a rocky outcropping 60 yards west of her position, submerged during high tide. Her teammate, Petty Officer Jackson Reeves, held that sector. The shot had come from his position, suppressed to near silence. At this distance, with fog damping acoustics further, the sound signature would register as nothing more than a mechanical click. Easily mistaken for equipment, rocks settling, waves against stone. The enemy frequency exploded. Man down, north wall, man down. Where's the shooter? I didn't see anything. Medic to north wall. Sarah tracked 3 personnel running toward the fallen guard's position. They moved in the open, silhouettes against compound lighting. Poor discipline, fear made them rush rather than think. She could have taken all 3, but her orders specified defensive posture only. Don't initiate unless the primary team faced compromise. The medic reached the body first. Through her scope, Sarah watched him check vitals, then recoil. Even at this distance, his body language screamed the answer: not wounded. Dead. Single shot placed with precision. He's gone, headshot, clean through. From where? I don't know. There's no blood trail. No, wait. The medic turned toward the sea, then spun in a full circle. The shot came from the water. That's impossible. The water's 60 yards away. Then where else? There's no elevation, no angle from land. It had to be. Another figure dropped. This one on the east wall, separated from the first by 100 yards. Same result. Standing, then not. No muzzle flash, no audible report. Just the absence where a person had been. Sarah's radio stayed silent, but she understood. Her team wasn't waiting for the compound to organize. They were preventing organization. Decapitation strikes against anyone who showed leadership, initiative, or tactical competence. Leave them blind, scattered, unable to mount coherent defense. The enemy frequency descended into chaos. East wall is hit. How many shooters? I don't know, I can't see them. Return fire! At what? There's nothing to shoot at. Automatic weapons fire erupted from 3 positions. Tracer rounds arced into the fog, illuminating nothing but moisture. They were shooting at ghosts, at fears, at the unknown. The bullets went wide, high, everywhere except where actual threats existed. The panic intensified. Guards abandoned assigned positions, seeking cover, clustering together. Each burst of undisciplined fire made them more visible, more vulnerable. Sarah watched thermal signatures bloom and fade as guards moved through her field of view. Unaware they were being cataloged, assessed, prioritized. A voice cut through the radio chaos, commanding but strained. Cease fire immediately, you're giving away positions. The shooting stopped. The damage was done. The compound's defenders had revealed themselves, wasted ammunition, and learned nothing about their enemy's location or strength. The fog thickened. The sea whispered its endless rhythm, and in the darkness, patient shapes continued their work. Sarah Blackwell had been a SEAL for 9 years, long enough to know that survival in special operations had nothing to do with strength and everything to do with stillness. She'd grown up in coastal Oregon, where the Pacific taught its lessons young. Respect the tide, read the current, understand that water moved according to laws that didn't care about human intention. Her father had fished commercially crab boats that went out in weather that kept pleasure craft in harbor. He'd taught her that the ocean wasn't an enemy, it was a condition. You adapted or you died. She'd adapted. Bud's basic underwater demolition SEAL training had a washout rate above 70%. Most quit during Hell Week. The ones who survived weren't necessarily the strongest or the fastest. They were the ones who could exist inside discomfort without fighting it, who could be cold and stay cold, who could be exhausted and keep moving, who understood that suffering was temporary but quitting was permanent. Sarah had finished in the top 15% of her class. The Navy had assigned her to a SEAL team operating in maritime interdiction, counterterrorism, smuggling interdiction, coastal facility actions. She'd deployed 6 times across 4 years, operating in conditions ranging from tropical shallows to Arctic channels. Each deployment taught the same lesson. The water gives advantage to those who know it. She became known for patience. While other snipers took shots at maximum effective range, Sarah waited. Let targets close, confirmed identification beyond doubt, one shot, one purpose. No room for error. Her call sign emerged organically. Still water. Not because she was calm, though she was, but because she could hold position in ocean currents for hours. Rifle steady, breathing synchronized with wave action. Invisible until too late. The teams noticed. By year 6, she drew assignments requiring extended maritime overwatch. Missions where standard sniper positions on land weren't viable, where the ocean itself became the hide. Then came the losses. Not in a single event, not a catastrophic mission failure or ambush. The deaths accumulated across deployments, training accidents, operational casualties. Some died in enemy contact, others in vehicle accidents, helicopter crashes, equipment failures. The number grew 20, 30, 50. Each name marked on a wall inside the team's ready room. Each name representing someone who'd stood watch beside her, shared rations, offered a hand during hellish training evolutions. Brothers, not metaphor. Actual family forged through shared suffering and absolute trust. By year 8, the count reached 82. Sarah stopped attending funerals, not from callousness, from necessity. She couldn't function if she kept marking time by memorial services, so she marked time differently, kept a small notebook, leather-bound, water-resistant. Inside, she wrote names, just names, one per page. No dates, no circumstances, just the acknowledgement that they'd existed, served, mattered. 82 names. Then 90. Most recent entry, Petty Officer David Martinez. Killed 3 months ago during a training exercise off the California coast. Equipment failure, rebreather malfunction. He'd drowned in water similar to what surrounded her, now cold, dark, indifferent. Sarah had written his name on page 90, closed the notebook, and returned to work. Because that's what professionals did. They grieved privately and functioned publicly. But the number lived inside her now, 90. Each one a debt unpaid, each one a reminder that the sea took and never gave back. Tonight, offshore from this enemy compound, the count would not increase. She'd accepted this mission with that single stipulation. No one else goes into the water and doesn't come back. Not on her watch. Not while she could still squeeze a trigger. The enemy wanted to know who was shooting them, where the threat originated. Sarah settled her breathing 6 counts in, 7 out, and adjusted her scope's focus. They'd find out soon enough. The notebook stayed in Sarah's gear bag, sealed in triple layers of waterproof material. She never brought it on missions, but she carried its contents regardless. 90 names that existed now as muscle memory, as automatic recall during the spaces between operations. Page 1, Senior Chief Robert Hendricks. Training accident, year 2 of her SEAL career. Parachute malfunction during a night jump. He'd been the first to call her still water, meant as a compliment. He'd recognized something in her that she hadn't yet seen in herself. the ability to wait, watch, let others rush while she measured. Page 17, Lieutenant Commander James Patterson, ambush in Kandahar province, her first deployment. He'd taken rounds meant for his team, held a doorway while others extracted, died buying time measured in seconds. Those seconds saved 4 lives. Page 29, Petty Officer First Class Anthony Chen, helo crash off the coast of Yemen, mechanical failure during insertion. The crew chief had called it in-engine trouble, attempting emergency landing. Then silence. Wreckage found 3 days later in water too deep for recovery of remains. Page 43, Chief Warrant Officer Marcus Donnelly, IED during vehicle patrol. The blast hadn't killed him immediately. He'd lasted 6 hours in field surgery, conscious enough to joke with the medics. His last words, relayed to Sarah by someone who'd been there, "Tell Stillwater the ocean's safer than roads." She'd smiled at that, added his name to the book, kept working. Page 67, Lieutenant Sarah Brennan, not a combat loss, cancer, diagnosed during routine physical, aggressive, terminal. She'd lasted 8 months, spent the last 3 in hospice. Sarah had visited twice. They'd talked about missions, about the water, about anything except endings. When Sarah left the second time, Brennan had said, "Don't quit. We need people who know how to wait." Page 85, Petty Officer Second Class Tyler Harrison, training evolution gone wrong, cold water survival course in the Pacific Northwest. Hypothermia set in faster than safety protocols anticipated. By the time they'd pulled him out, core temperature had dropped too far. He'd been Sarah's swim partner during Bud S. They'd helped each other through Hell Week, taking shifts sleeping in the surf zone, sharing body heat. Page 90, Petty Officer David Martinez, 3 months ago, the most recent, the one that still felt raw. Martinez had been 26, married, new father. He'd shown Sarah photos of his daughter, talked about teaching her to swim when she got older. During the training dive, his rebreather had failed. Pure carbon dioxide buildup. He'd lost consciousness before recognizing the danger. Recovery divers found him 40 feet down, equipment functioning perfectly now, as if mocking the failure that had killed him. Sarah had written his name slowly, carefully. Then she'd requested this mission. Not for revenge. That was amateur thinking. Revenge was emotional, reactive, sloppy. This was operational necessity. The enemy operated from this coastal facility. The facility enabled smuggling routes. The smuggling routes funded operations that killed SEALs. Simple mathematics. She didn't need to feel anything beyond professional competence. The emotion was secondary, tertiary, irrelevant, except when it wasn't. When the missions stacked up and the names accumulated and the notebook pages filled. When you realized you'd spent a decade watching people die in water you'd learned to love. When the ocean stopped being neutral and started being complicit. 90 names. The enemy frequency crackled. Who's shooting us? Where? Sarah's finger moved from trigger guard to trigger. 90 names. Demanded 90 answers. Tonight, the sea would provide. The wind shifted at 0407 hours. Sarah felt it before she saw evidence, a change in pressure against her exposed skin, the fog beginning to lift in irregular patterns, visibility expanding from 8 feet to 20, then 30. Not enough to compromise her position, but enough to create opportunity. Through her scope, thermal signatures sharpened. The compound's remaining security force had consolidated into defensive positions, poor tactical choice, but psychologically predictable. They'd lost contact with multiple personnel, faced an invisible threat, and reverted to siege mentality. Hunker down, protect each other, wait for dawn. Dawn was 90 minutes away. Sarah identified her target. A figure emerged onto the compound's south wall, moving with deliberate caution. Unlike the panicked guards from earlier, this one advanced tactically, staying low, using available cover, scanning approaches before exposing himself. The thermal bloom suggested body armor. The weapon silhouette read as a long rifle, possibly designated marksman role. Someone trained, someone dangerous. He took position behind a concrete barrier, establishing a firing position that covered the waterline. Smart. He'd recognized the attack vector and positioned to interdict it. If Sarah's teammates attempted to extract through the south approach, this shooter would have clear lines of fire. Sarah calculated range, 147 yards. Wind, 3 miles per hour, left to right. Temperature, 49 degrees. Humidity, near saturation. The M1110 was zeroed for different conditions, but she'd compensated for worse. The suppressor would reduce muzzle velocity slightly. The cold affected powder combustion. The moisture would slow the round fractionally. She adjusted her aim 2 mils right, 1 mil high. Her breathing slowed. 6 counts in. The target settled into his position, rifle trained on the water. 7 counts out. Sarah's finger rested against the trigger, not pressing, not yet. The shot wasn't ready. Shooting was the easy part. The hard part was knowing when not to shoot, when to let the moment pass, when to wait for certainty. The target shifted his weight, adjusting his stance. There, the movement settled him into a stable position. For 3 seconds, maybe 4, he would be perfectly still, the moment between adjusting and resuming vigilance. The moment when even trained operators relaxed fractionally. Sarah pressed the trigger. The suppressor absorbed most of the muzzle blast. The sound that emerged was less than a whisper, a mechanical snap, briefly audible, immediately swallowed by surf noise and wind. The rifle's recoil pushed back against her shoulder, minimal, controlled. She rode it, maintaining sight picture. Through the scope, she watched the round strike. The target's head snapped back. His body remained upright for a fraction of a second. Muscle memory maintaining position even as brain function ceased. Then he collapsed backward, disappearing behind the concrete barrier. No one saw it happen. The other guards, huddled in their defensive positions, remained focused outward. They were watching for muzzle flashes, for movement, for threats approaching from the sea. They weren't watching their own walls, weren't expecting death to arrive from darkness they thought they controlled. Sarah chambered another round, the action smooth and practiced. The ejected casing tumbled into water, lost immediately. She'd fire 18 more rounds tonight and not leave a single piece of evidence beyond the bodies themselves. The enemy frequency remained chaotic but quieter now, as if volume alone attracted danger. South wall, report status. Pause. South wall, acknowledge. Longer pause. Anyone have eyes on south wall? No response. Sarah adjusted her position, tracking new targets. The fog continued lifting. Visibility expanded to 50 yards. The enemy was learning the wrong lessons. They thought the danger came from distance. It came from patience. By 04:25 hours, the compound had lost 9 personnel. The surviving guards abandoned any pretense of organized defense and retreated to a single fortified position. A concrete structure at the facility's center, originally designed for storing sensitive materials. Thick walls, limited entry points, defensible. Also a trap. Sarah watched them file inside, thermal signatures clustering. Approximately 14 personnel remaining from the original complement of 25. They were giving up mobility, giving up fields of fire, giving up any chance of counterattack. They were giving up. Her team's primary objective, the facility itself, stood undefended now. Chief Webb's voice entered her earpiece. Blackwell, enemy force has consolidated. We're proceeding to objective. Maintain overwatch on that strongpoint. Anything emerges, you have authorization. Copy. Mission clock shows 40 minutes to extract. Keep them bottled. The channel went quiet. Sarah shifted her focus to the strongpoint's entrance. Single reinforced door facing west. No windows at ground level. If the enemy tried to break out, they'd funnel through that door in single file, kill zone. But they weren't breaking out. They were hiding. The intercepted frequency carried desperate planning. How long until sunrise? Hour, maybe less. We wait until then. Daylight changes everything. Assuming we last that long, what choice do we have? Going out there is suicide. Staying here is just slower suicide. Then we call for support, get helicopters, reinforcements, something. Support is 40 minutes away minimum. They're hitting us because they know that. Silence. The kind that carried weight. Then a younger voice, barely controlled. We don't even know how many there are. Could be a dozen, could be 50. Doesn't matter. We can't fight what we can't see. Sarah tracked movement through the strong point's walls, indistinct thermal shadows shifting position, pacing, clustered in defensive postures that revealed training but also fear. They'd done everything right according to standard procedures, consolidated forces, established protected position, maintained communication discipline. None of it mattered, because the threat didn't follow standard procedures, didn't mass forces for assault, didn't announce intentions or negotiate, simply removed obstacles with surgical precision and continued mission objectives. A figure appeared at the strongpoint's door, barely visible, testing exposure. Sarah's crosshairs settled on the opening. Range, 163 yards. Clear line of sight. She held fire. The figure retreated without fully emerging, learning, adapting, recognizing that exposure meant death. The fog thinned further as wind patterns shifted. Visibility reached 70 yards. Dawn was coming, and with it, the conditions that favored defenders over infiltrators. Sarah's team would need to extract before full daylight. The mission timeline compressed. Movement registered on her right flank. She swung the rifle, tracking new contacts. 2 thermal signatures moving along the compound's perimeter wall, heading for the water. Not attacking, fleeing. The enemy frequency confirmed it. Garcia and Bowen are making a run for it. What? Command didn't authorize. There is no command anymore. They're gone. Someone stop them. You stop them. I'm not leaving this position. Sarah tracked the fleeing guards. They moved in panic, abandoning tactical movement for pure speed, splashing into the shallows, swimming for open water. They thought distance equaled safety. They thought the threat remained focused on the compound. They thought wrong. Sarah adjusted her aim, leading the first swimmer, accounting for movement across her line of sight. The mathematics of interception played out automatically: target speed, direction, round travel time. She fired. The swimmer jerked, rolled, went still. Current began pulling the body parallel to shore. The second swimmer saw it happen, changed direction, swimming harder, thrashing now instead of stroking, making himself an easier target through panic. Sarah's second shot ended it. 2 more bodies for the sea. The enemy frequency went silent. No one commented on the attempted escape. No one asked what happened. They'd heard the splashing stop. They understood. The strongpoint's door remained closed. Sarah reloaded, chambering fresh rounds. 18 remaining in the magazine, more than enough. The fog continued lifting. Visibility reached 90 yards. Dawn approached, and in the cold water, Sarah Blackwell waited with the patience that had kept her alive for 9 years. The enemy had asked where the threat was. It was everywhere water touched. The answer wasn't skill. Skill mattered. Sarah wouldn't deny that. Marksmanship, fieldcraft, tactical awareness. These were tools, but tools without understanding were useless. The real answer was knowledge. Sarah understood cold water in ways that transcended technical specifications. She'd grown up in it, worked in it, trained in it, until the sensations became familiar as breathing. Most people fought cold water tensed against it, burned energy resisting it, treated it as an enemy to overcome. Sarah had learned to accept it. Cold water pulled heat from the body at 25 times the rate of air at the same temperature. This was physics, unchangeable. Fighting it achieved nothing except faster exhaustion. Instead, you acknowledged the theft, prepared for it, moved within its constraints. The key was sustainable discomfort. Not pushing through paint that led to mistakes, not ignoring warning signs that led to death, but existing in a state of controlled suffering, where cold registered but didn't distract, where numbness advanced but didn't compromise fine motor control. Sarah had spent thousands of hours learning that balance. She understood fog the same way. Most snipers hated fog. It disrupted visibility, distorted range estimation, dampened sound in unpredictable ways. But fog was neutral. It concealed attackers and defenders equally. The advantage went to whoever adapted better. Sarah had adapted. She'd learned that fog moved in patterns, thickened in low areas, thinned near heat sources, shifted with wind but lagged behind by seconds. If you watched long enough, you could predict where visibility would open, where targets would appear. She'd learned that fog distorted sound in specific ways. Direct sounds muffled, reflected sounds amplified. A shot fired toward water might be nearly silent. The same shot fired toward stone might echo unexpectedly. Understanding these variances made the suppressor more effective. She'd learned that fog changed psychology. People trapped in poor visibility made predictable mistakes, clustered for comfort, over-communicated, fired at sounds instead of targets. These behaviors created opportunity. But knowledge alone wasn't enough. The final piece was acceptance. Sarah had accepted years ago that military operations in her specialty meant working at the edge of survivability, meant being cold, tired, scared, meant watching people die, sometimes enemies, sometimes friends, meant carrying losses that never got lighter. Most people couldn't accept that. They fought it, sought meaning, justice, resolution, needed their suffering to serve a greater purpose. Sarah had stopped needing purpose beyond the immediate mission. The immediate mission was survival. Her team's survival. Not abstract concepts like victory or justice. Concrete reality. Her teammates would go into the water tonight and they would come back out. The enemy would try to prevent that. She would prevent them from preventing that. Simple mathematics. No emotion required. Except emotion existed anyway. 90 names existed anyway. The cold existed, and the fog and the endless patient discipline required to hold position while the body screamed for warmth and the mind demanded action. Sarah's finger rested against the trigger guard, not gripping, just touching, maintaining contact with the weapon while conserving strength. Through her scope, the strongpoint's door remained closed. The surviving guards had learned. They'd stopped testing exits, stopped trying to establish dominance. They'd surrendered the tactical initiative and accepted containment. Smart, also pointless, because Sarah wasn't waiting for them to emerge. She was waiting for her team to complete the mission objective. After that, what happened to the guards trapped in their concrete bunker was irrelevant. The sea would decide their fate. It always did. At 04:49 hours, Chief Webb's voice returned to Sarah's earpiece. Objective secure. Beginning extract sequence. 2 minutes to water. Copy. Strongpoint remains contained. 14 personnel inside. No movement toward exits. Outstanding. We're coming to you. Maintain position until we reach your sector. Sarah tracked her team's approach through thermal signatures emerging from the facility's main structure. 6 operators moving in tactical formation, burdened now with equipment and intelligence materials recovered from the objective. They moved slower than during insertion fatigue, cold, mission weight taking toll. The strongpoint's door opened. Sarah's crosshairs snapped to the entrance. A single figure emerged, moving fast but controlled, not fleeing, assessing. This one had training beyond the standard security force. The movement pattern suggested military experience, probably special operations. He scanned the compound, weapon raised, professional, looking for exactly what Sarah's team was doing. She fired. The round took him center mass. Body armor stopped the penetration, but the kinetic energy knocked him backward through the doorway. Not dead, wounded, out of the fight. The door slammed shut. The enemy frequency exploded one final time. They're extracting! They're leaving! How many? I don't know. I saw maybe 6, 7 figures. Did you engage? Negative. They dropped our guy before he could get a shot off. So we just let them go. Pause. Long, heavy. Yes, we let them go. Anyone who wants to chase them into that water after what happened tonight, speak up now. Silence answered. Sarah understood. The enemy had learned the lesson. Water belonged to her team. Darkness belonged to her team. The smart move was to hold position, accept the loss, survive to report. She tracked her teammates' progress. They'd reached the surf zone, transitioning from land to water with practiced efficiency. Chief Webb led, followed by 5 others, weapons slung, swimming strokes synchronized. The strong point remained quiet. Sarah waited 30 seconds. No pursuit. No attempted interdiction. The surviving guards had chosen survival over engagement. She keyed her radio. "Blackwell, collapsing position, moving to extract point." "Copy. See you at the boat." Sarah backed away from her firing position, moving with the same patience that had defined the entire operation. The temptation was to rush, to feel the mission complete, and let adrenaline take over. But the most dangerous moment in any operation was the extract, when exhaustion met relief, when focus degraded. She moved through the shallows, weapons still ready, still tracking the strong point until distance and fog made observation impossible. Then she turned her full attention to the swim. The Zodiac boats waited 300 yards offshore, engines already running, crews scanning approaches. Sarah reached the first boat and accepted a hand up, water streaming from her gear. Chief Webb was already aboard, conducting head count. 7, we're complete. The boat crews didn't wait. Engines engaged, pushing away from shore, gaining speed and distance. Behind them, the compound's lights still blazed. The strong point's door remained closed. The intercepted enemy frequency carried final transmissions. "Air support is 15 minutes out. Tell them not to bother. Attackers are already gone." "What do we report?" "That we got hit by ghosts. That half our people are dead or missing. That we never saw who did it." "Command isn't going to believe that. Command wasn't here. We tell them what happened. They can believe what they want." The frequency went dead. Sarah stripped her gloves, feeling circulation return to fingers. The mission clock showed 53 minutes from insertion to final extract. Textbook, clean. Around her, teammates maintained professional silence. No celebration, no relief. Just the quiet satisfaction of work completed properly. The sea whispered against the boat's hull. 9 more to go before dawn. Dawn arrived without warmth. The extraction boats reached the offshore vessel as first light touched the horizon gray, bleeding into gray, the sky indistinguishable from the water. The larger ship's crew helped the SEAL team aboard, already laying out dry suits and hot beverages, the practiced ritual of recovery. Sarah accepted a thermal blanket but declined the coffee. Her core temperature would stabilize naturally now. Adding external heat too quickly could trigger complications. Better to let the body find its own equilibrium. Around her, the team began equipment breakdown. Weapons needed cleaning salt water, and suppressed fire created maintenance demands. Gear needed inventory. After-action reports would be filed within 6 hours. But first, the debrief. Chief Webb gathered the team in the ship's ready room out of the wind. 7 operators, minus their gear, looking like ordinary people except for the controlled precision in how they moved, how they occupied space. Clean operation, Webb began. No casualties, no compromise. Objective achieved. Mission clock beat estimate by 12 minutes. Questions? Petty Officer Jackson Reeves raised a hand. The Strong Point survivors. Do we have follow-up tasking? Negative. Local authorities will respond. Our interest was the facility, not the personnel. They know they were hit. They know they couldn't stop it. That's enough. Reeves nodded. Sarah remained quiet. She'd fired 11 rounds during the operation, 11 targets engaged, 11 threats eliminated. The mathematics satisfied her. Nothing excessive, nothing wasteful. Exactly what the mission required. Webb continued. Blackwell, your overwatch prevented enemy interdiction during our most vulnerable phase. Solid work. Thank you, Chief. One thing. Webb's tone shifted slightly. The 2 who tried to swim out. You tracked them in total darkness, moving targets in water, made both shots. I'm not complaining about results, but I need to know, were you confident in those shots before you took them? Sarah considered the question. Honest answer, 80% confident. Moving water targets in low visibility carried risk, but they represented potential compromise if they reached population and reported our strength and tactics. Risk assessment favored engagement. Webb studied her for 3 seconds, then nodded. Solid reasoning. Next time, call it on radio so I know you're taking difficult shots. I like to track the risk profile in real time. Understood. The debrief continued for another 20 minutes, covering technical details. Equipment performance, intelligence gathered. Then Webb dismissed them. Sarah returned to her assigned berth, stripped down, showered in water that felt scalding against cold, adapted skin. She dressed in dry clothes, secured her gear, then retrieved the waterproof bag. Inside, the notebook waited. She didn't open it, didn't add names tonight hadn't cost any, didn't review the 90 already recorded. The notebook's weight was enough. Physical reminder of mass that couldn't be calculated in ounces. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Come. Petty Officer Reeves entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He offered one without speaking. Sarah accepted. They stood in silence for a moment. Reeves had been on the team for 4 years. He'd watched the notebook collection grow. Never asked about it. Never needed to. Finally, Martinez would have appreciated tonight. Sarah sipped coffee. He would have wanted to be there. They all would have. Yes? Another silence, comfortable, between people who understood. Reeves finished his coffee, nodded once, and left. Sarah sat on her bunk, notebook beside her, untouched. The ship's engines provided steady vibration through the hull, familiar, constant. Outside, the sea continued its work-erasing evidence, dispersing heat signatures, returning to equilibrium. By the time investigators reached the compound, salt water would have claimed everything. There were debts that couldn't be paid with words. There were debts that required patience measured in years. There were 90 names that would never be called loudly. But they'd been remembered, in darkness, in cold, in the space between heartbeats where professionals made decisions that kept others alive. Sarah placed the notebook back in its waterproof bag, sealed it, stowed it. Tomorrow would bring new missions, new names to remember or not, new mathematics of survival. Tonight, the count remained at 90. The sea had kept them. She'd kept her team. The equation balanced. For now, that was enough.